Hello, first grade writers. It's Mrs. Fitz here with you today. I am presenting to you from my writing slide. So right now you're watching the video that was right here that says wonderful work coming soon. But I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the things that are on this slide so that as you're writing today, you can make sure that you use these things. Okay, so I'm going to move my head. This is the small moment checklist here in the middle. So this is what we're going to be using to make sure that our stories include all the things that good first grade writers include. And if you click on it, you can make it larger and print it off. The thing that I also want to draw your attention to is this transition words poster right here. We've been using lots of different transition words in our writing. And we wrote stories that had transition words like, for example, and also. Those are transition words that we use when we're writing informational books. Since we're writing small moment stories, I have made a list for you of all the different transition words that we use when we write small moment stories. So how about if I read them to you and then you echo me? Ready? First. Next, last, 5 minutes after, then, after that, finally, all of a sudden, soon after a while, immediately after, and meanwhile. These transition words all help the reader understand the sequence of events that happens in your story. They help the reader understand what happens first, next, and after that. You might just use first, next in your story, or you might decide to use some of these more challenging, juicier transition words like immediately after or 5 minutes later, or you could even change 5 minutes later to say 1 minute later. Our goal today is to check the middle of our story and make sure that we've included at least 2 transition words. Because if we look at our checklist, we see right here in green, it says transitions. I have 2 or more transition words. You might have more than 2 transition words, and that's great, but you need to have at least 2. So now I'm going to take you to the story that I am writing. The story that I am writing is called Headstand. And I've shared it with you before. This is my beginning, where I included my characters and my setting. This is my middle. This was the middle that I did not choose, right? I chose this middle. I put a star beside it because it was the middle that gave the most information. We were almost done with the class, and the teacher said we had free time to work on headstands. She could see me in the Zoom meeting. I was doing something wrong. She told me what to fix. I fixed it, and my legs started to rise. I did it. This is the middle of my story. My job today is to check for transition words. And when I was reading, I didn't hear any of those transition words that I told you about earlier. So now I have to go add them. I have to think about a place in my story that would make sense for me to add the transition words. Here is my first page. It says, we were almost done with the class, and the teacher said we had free time to work on headstand. Right here, you can see that I added a caret, not the carrot that you eat or that bunnies eat, but the caret that is an editing tool that means that we forgot something. So I used a caret because I didn't have enough space to write soon after right there. So then I wrote soon after in the space above my sentence. So I want my next sentence to say, soon after, she could see me in the Zoom meeting. I was doing something wrong. So I highlighted my transition word soon after because I added it. I also, since Friday, when I wrote the middle part of my story, added an illustration to match. This is me over here. I'm trying to do the headstand, and this is Stacy on my iPhone Zoom, and she said, push on your elbows. And I said, okay. And then that's when I did my headstand. So I added one transition word on this page, and I'm going to go to my next page, and I'm going to take a look at where I can add a transition word. It says, she told me what to fix. Immediately after, I fixed it. And so I decided to add the transition word immediately after I fixed it. I could have added the transition word then I fixed it. I could have added the transition word 10 seconds later I fixed it. I chose immediately after. When you're writing your story, you get to choose which transition word you like the best to make the reader understand your story more. And then I drew my illustration of me with my hands in the air saying, I did it, because I felt so proud and so excited. So boys and girls, your job today is to think about a place in your story where you can add 2 more transition words. Some of you may need to add a couple more detail sentences to make your story long enough so that you have a space to add 2 transition words. If you need help, please email me or email your teacher and we can help you. We haven't written the ending of our story yet today. We're just working on making the middle part of our story, which is the most important part. The middle part of our story should be the longest part. We're working on making that part the best that it can be. All right, boys and girls, happy writing. Don't forget, we're going to add transition words into our story today. Have a wonderful Tuesday afternoon.